I thought you
So,
were working for yourself. I had no idea.
yeah, it's for myself. It's a maintenance type of work, you know.
Oh,
And he said to me last week, in our big supermarket, I think it's 75 by 100. And he said to me, if riot broke out and him find that he can't make any money, he will just um, leave the place, give me. That's what really happened. I asked me, I asked him for a raise. So him said that to me. So I said to myself, so wait. Is when they find out that they can't make anything again, that's the time when we try.
well, we have no way of verifying what you're saying, and we're not sure why you would want to go public with such information.
When we just said through me, they was talking about governor, the governors, them when them will down things to the people in the um, after slavery.
That's not limited to governors. People make wills all the time to leave particular items for people and resources and assets.
That is when they can't make anything further them to do that. Anyway, that's not what I call for. You know what I call for mainly? I'm just asking if you can just shed some more light by telling Jamaicans that when the police doing their duty, they must stop obstruct the police and duty, man, and behave better as people, as Jamaicans, because it don't look good. And deal with it in a proper way, because it look like they don't understand, some of them don't understand English. You can't the police and his duty and they obstruct the police like that. You know, look good, man, all of you want. Understand? I mean, I like to see it every time you go on certain channel, it's the same thing you see happening over and over. I want the government to start get the JS people them to go on and sensitize these people if they're not listening radio and getting the information. Go around with the loudspeaker, beg the government and announce it that them cease from doing these things. Even with the beaches them talking about, see, if the government ever allow indigenous people to take over the water, may God help us. A matter of fact, what the government should be doing is sensitize people that you can't go on the sea unless you have license. You understand? You can't just run on the sea, so unless you have license to go there. Because let me tell you something, if the day come where a man can just take up a boat and go see as in like a cut out a area and turn it into beach. May God help us in this country. I remember say, I call myself indigenous. And there are things that some of us do at times. No other people in the world can stomach it. We should stop him and try to be good and do what is right. Because we can't continue like this.
Thank
Just
you
to
for the
say the
call.
same.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
All the best. This is your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com, live on your smart devices all over the world. Taking your calls on 876-922-4112 to 5. Born on this day in 1911, that's 111 years ago, Sir Donald Sangster was born on this day in 1911 in Black River, St. Elizabeth. Sir Donald Sangster was the son of W.B. Sangster, commissioned land surveyor, and his wife Cassandra. Donald Sangster was educated at Monroe College in St. Elizabeth and was a solicitor and pen keeper. He began his political career at the age of 21 when he was elected to the St. Elizabeth Parish Council in 1933. This career was remarkable for its continuity. He became member of the House of Representatives for Southern St. Elizabeth, then member of the House of Representatives for Northeastern Clarendon, and when he was elected to the House of Representatives in 1949, he took over from Mr. Frank Pixley and became Minister of Social Welfare and Labour at the death of Sir Harold Allen, Jamaica's first Minister of Finance. More in a moment.
is power. Class is in session. Power 106. You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now 3:15. Looking for signage and branding for your business? Call the experts at Hieroglyphics Limited, located at 14 Bellatra Avenue, Kingston 10. We do all types of signs, including backlit signs, metal signs, rounded signs, channel letter signs, vehicle wraps, banners, and much more. Call us today at 876-906-6910 or 876-906-8196. Hieroglyphics Limited, taking you to the next level. Don't you approve? One who keeps tearing around, one who can't move. Where are the clowns? Sending me the clowns.
Continuing the story of Sir Donald Sangster, born on this day in 1911. As we said, he took over from Mr. Frank Pixley and became Minister of Social Welfare and Labour at the death of Sir Harold Allen, Jamaica's first Minister of Finance. Sangster took his place and also became Leader of the House of Representatives. After 1955, he was Deputy Leader of the Opposition, and on the return to power of the Jamaica Labour Party in 1962, he again became Finance Minister. In 1963, he became acting Prime Minister, and at the international level, he demonstrated Jamaican capability with great success at the Commonwealth Economic Conferences, earning a highly respected name in Commonwealth circles. In 1967, the Jamaica Labour Party won the election and Sangster became the second Prime Minister of Jamaica. Sangster, however, attended only one session of Parliament before he became suddenly ill and was sent to Canada for specialist treatment. Nevertheless, he succumbed to his illness. 5 days before he died, he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II. Also on this day, in 1916, the French leader François Mitterrand was born. On this day in 1916, 1926, the final parade of the West India Regiment held at Up Park Camp took place on this day in 1926. The regiment had had a long and distinguished career. It first formed in America as the North Carolina Regiment in the year 1779. It was later reorganized and named the West India Regiment. It took part in the capture of St. Lucia, Martinique, Guadeloupe, and Dominica during the wars with Napoleon. During the latter part of the last century, it was frequently engaged in operations on the west coast of Africa, notably Ashanti, West Africa, and Sierra Leone, and in the Great War, the regiment saw service in Palestine, the Cameroons, and East Africa. On this day in 1933, Tom Redcombe was formally recognized as Poet Laureate of Jamaica. His real name is Thomas McDermott, but he wrote under the name of Tom Redcombe, which is the spelling of his surname in reverse, McDermott, spelled backways. McDermott, spelled backways, is Tom Redcombe. Let's go to 1934. Parents of children attending Woolmer's Girls' School complained that theirs is the only secondary school in Jamaica which closed at 1 p.m. In addition, they feel that while the tuition fees were high, the work which should be done by their children at school in the afternoons was taken home to be supervised by them, the parents. They also complained that 15 weeks of holiday each year is much too long. 1939, Port Royal was declared a restricted area. This meant that only specially authorized people, residents, or members of their household could now go there. A notice published in the Jamaica Gazette made the Port Royal end of the Palisadoes out of bounds to all but specially authorized persons. Persons using the road may not on any account leave the roadway. The prohibited area took account of the area of swamp, marsh, or foreshore, except the roadway itself beyond the 17th mile post, and included the islands, reefs, and keys within a radius of 10 miles of Port Royal Point. The order also prohibited all aliens from being found in the prohibited area. 1,500 of the evacuees who were living at Gibraltar camp at Mona in St. Andrew for the past 3 years returned to their homes at Gibraltar in the south of Spain on this day in 1944 to a warm and enthusiastic welcome from their families and friends. 25 evacuees have remained in Jamaica as they joined the Pioneer Corps for the duration of the war. And the history goes on and on and on. Also, as we turn the pages of history, on this day in 1960, Jamaica's legislature was transferred from Headquarters House, where it had been located for 88 years, to a new building next door on Duke Street. This new house was named Gordon House in honor of the great Jamaican patriot George William Gordon, who had been a member of the House of Assembly under the old Constitution and a victim of the aftermath of the 1865 rebellion. Governor Sir Kenneth Blackburn officially declared Gordon House open as the country's new legislative chamber. He made this declaration at an official ceremony in the presence of the House of Representatives and the Legislative Council. In his speech, Sir Kenneth stated, "It is in this chamber that the will of the people will be expressed, and it is in this chamber that people will be protected from dictatorship and other unhappy forms of authoritarian rule." 1963, Carol Joan Crawford, Miss Jamaica 1963, left Jamaica on her prize trip to London, where she would compete in the Miss World 1963 contest, which she subsequently won. 1967, the first man-made crop developed in the laboratories of the University of Manitoba, Canada, reached Jamaica and was planted at Long Pond Estate in Trelawney. The plant was a crossbreed between wheat, W-H-E-A-T, and rye, R-Y-E. Present was the Joint Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Senator Cyril Atkinson, who was there to see the grains of the wonderful plant and to witness the planting of an acre of the seeds. Former Rhodes Scholar Anthony Abrams was appointed Assistant Director of Tourism on this day in 1967. Michael Manley addressed delegates at a conference of the People's National Party for the first time as its president on this day in 1969. The National Unit Trust was established on this day in 1970. Let's go to 1973. Ground was broken by Senator Dudley Thompson, a former Michael College trained teacher, for the Jamaica Teachers Association's 4-story office complex on Church Street in Kingston on this day in 1973. The building still stands. 1975, Anwar Sadat became the first Egyptian president to officially visit the United States. It happened on this day in 1975. Also on this day in 1975, Prime Minister Michael Manley announced that the government would initiate public discussion on whether there should be an element of public financing of political candidates seeking elective office with a view to enacting appropriate legislation before the next general elections. And in the meantime, legislation would be enacted effective from January 1st, 1976, requiring public disclosure of political contributions in cash or kind, totaling more than $1,000 in the course of a calendar year. What a thing. Let's go to 1975. Michael Campbell's Dread at the Control moved up one place to number 6 after entering the top 10 the previous week. Stand Firm by Jacob Miller and A True is that one by Dennis Brown were number 1 and 2 hits, respectively. Bob Marley's Black Man Redemption fell from number 3 the previous week to number 7 in the week of 1978 under Focus. Dr. Gilbert Allen was elected chairman of the Board of Governors of the Hargreaves Memorial Hospital in Mandeville on this day in 1978. I believe he also served as Custos Rotalorum for the parish of Manchester. At Loma Linda University Medical Center in Loma Linda, California, on this day in 1984, Dr. Leonard L. Bailey performed the first baboon to human heart transplant, replacing a 14-day-old infant girl's defective heart with a healthy walnut-sized heart of a young baboon. The infant, known as Baby Faye, was born with hypoplastic left heart syndrome, a deformity that is almost fatal and is found in newborns in which parts or all of the left side of the heart is missing. A few days after Baby Faye's birth, Loma Linda heart surgeon Dr. Bailey convinced Baby Faye's mother to allow him to try the experimental baboon heart transplant. 3 other humans had received animal heart transplants, the last in 1977, but none survived longer than 3.5 days. Bailey argued that an infant with an underdeveloped immune system would be less likely to reject alien tissue than an adult. Baby Faye survived the operation, and her subsequent struggle for life received international attention. After living longer than any other human recipient of an animal heart, Baby Faye's body made a concerted effort to reject the alien transplant. Doctors were forced to increase dosages of an immunosuppressive drug, leading to kidney failure. Ultimately, doctors were defeated by the swift onset of heart failure, and on November 15, Baby Faye died after holding on for 20 days. And can we give you one more before we go to our scheduled discussion segment coming up? Let's give you this one. 1987, 5 athletes from Jamaica who had never seen snow, according to the news reports, arrived in Calgary, Canada on this day in 1987. The athletes were in Calgary, Canada to start intensive training in bobsledding for the Winter Olympics. The 5 athletes were Dudley Stokes, Sam Clayton, Michael White, and Devon Harris, and they were the vanguard of a 7-man team formed 2 months earlier to compete in what was regarded as one of the most demanding and dangerous of the Winter Olympic sporting events. It was the first time a country had been to these Olympics to participate in a non-traditional sport with athletes who had never practiced that sport. Well, it took Jamaicans. Only Jamaicans could change that, right? That was 1987. And Hurricane Mitch hit Central America on this day in 1998. The storm, the most deadly hurricane to hit the Western Hemisphere in more than 200 years, went on to kill thousands of people. In total, somewhere between 11,000 and 18,000 people are believed to have died because of the hurricane. making Hurricane Mitch the most deadly storm since the Great Hurricane of 1780. Nearly 1 million people lost their homes, and the region suffered an estimated $4 billion in damage. There's more after the break.
Knowledge is power. Class is in session. Power 106. Protecting Jamaica's borders from illicit imports and exports is a key priority for the Jamaica Customs Agency. The JCA will remain vigilant and resolute in effectively fulfilling this mandate. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is 8:30. For all your fire protection needs, contact Fire Equipment Sales and Services. They have fire extinguishers and hoses, water safety boots, first aid kits, gloves and goggles, overalls and a safety helmet, demonstration for fire drills, also staff training. They offer competitive rates. Fire Equipment Sales and Services, 6 Park Avenue, Kingston 5, 876-649-0618 or 876-486-6587. Don't take chances. Prevent a fire. Tune in every Thursday at 3:30 p.m. for Your Legal Corner with Dana Walker Huntington, doing both sides of the story with Dervan Malcolm on Power 106 FM. It's your source of information regarding U.S. immigration matters, combined with Power 106 FM's pioneer of diaspora broadcasting. Call in with your U.S. immigration queries and concerns on 876-9224-11225 or send a text or WhatsApp message to 876-279-8598 and get the answers you need for your U.S. immigration questions. That's Your Legal Corner with Dana Walker Huntington, Thursdays at 3:30 p.m. during both sides of the story with Dervan Malcolm, only on Power 106 FM. It's the show that engages you with stimulating and intriguing discussions to spice up your night. It's Dear Pastor with Reverend Dr. Aaron Dumas, Mondays to Thursdays from 10 p.m. until midnight. Hello.
Hello, Pastor.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Well, you may ask me a question. I may or may not answer.
Hear pertinent advice and share your thoughts on topical issues. Relationship matters. Get the answers you need.
No, not on. It's a different number I'm giving you. 876 922 4114. That's it. So the program assistant is going to answer that phone and put you on air right away. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Um, he says it's a UK number. So it would be the zero, the same. I'm getting Dr. Bright here. Hi, Dr. Bright. I'm fine, thanks. And you? Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. One moment, please. Mr. De Silva is supposed to be calling us on another line, but that's not showing up right now. I wonder if I should just conference both of you on this. Let me try that. Just in case there are problems on that end. Unable to join WhatsApp group calls at this time. Oh, okay. Let me see. Silver. Just when I stop opening doors, finally knowing the one that I wanted. One moment, please. Put him in the company phone. Can you do that? The studio phone. Just put in his number in there and call him via WhatsApp. That's Silver. I have Bright. Yes. One, you sure? Not 011? Let me see. Calling Bahrain from Jamaica. Yeah, it's 011 is the code. 011 and then everything else that you have. He's in Bahrain or St. Lucia. I think he's now in St. Lucia, Dr. Bright. Right. Okay. All right, no problem. Let's go then in the interest of time. Sorry, stand by. This is your program, Both Sides of the Story, Poro 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com, live on your smart devices all over the world. And it's time for our discussion segment this afternoon. We are anxious to learn more about the Euro Exim Bank and all that could mean for trade in the region and elsewhere. And so we're delighted to have joining us the Global Head of Compliance and Operations at the Euro Exim Bank. He is in St. Lucia, right here in the West Indies at this time. And we're delighted to have him joining us here on both sides of the story. Dr. Graham Bright, good afternoon. How are you? All right, just a moment, Dr. Bright. Just go again, please.
Okay.
Absolutely delighted to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to be speaking with you and your audience here this afternoon.
Well, the pleasure is all ours. We're happy to have you on board, and we thank you very much for joining us. We have a bit of ground to cover, so let's get straight to it.
Okay.
Dr. Graham Bright, can you explain to those unfamiliar with the Euro Exim Bank how this institution functions, please?
Absolutely. So we are founded in 2017 in St. Lucia. We have 7 people based at the office here, and we have 7 people in the London office, the rep office of the institution. And we specialize in trade finance, and that's helping companies all over the world to do export and import of goods. So we're not a retail bank. You can't come in and say, I want a bank account or a mortgage or a loan. We're very specifically looking at the trade business, how to get the containers full of goods and services moving from one side of the world to the other. And we're very specialist on how we do that. Mm-hmm. But let me give you a bit of background of some of the issues taking place within trade at the moment and why that makes us special. First of all, 3,000 years ago, trade was incepted. I think it was the Mesopotamians and the Egyptians who found that moving goods and services by ship was great. The only problem was you needed gold to pay for it at the other end. So we came up with the process was involved. So we would use paper instead, documentary credits, letters of credit in order to do that. However, across the world, we then found that the problem, every single organization had a different format, a different invoice, there were different regulations, custom, language, currency, which made trade very difficult across the world. What's happened most recently is that the banks are getting together to try to change that process. We can use technology to make things better. You may have heard of blockchain, artificial intelligence, and these are just some of the technologies we're using in trade to make sure that one party can easily transact business with another party. So we're really changing the way that trade works. But there are real challenges internationally with trade. In the region as well, there is low liquidity. Now that means that small companies don't get the advantage of good rates or the ability to talk to their banks to get the right support if they're doing international transactions. Trade transactions are hugely complex as well. There are many pieces of information you need in order to support trade. Something like 50 to 60 different pieces of information. The payment only needs 4. And that's part of the challenge when you're sending goods around the world of trying to buy raw materials and then to move them effectively in containers across the world. You may remember recently that we had a problem with the Suez Canal, for example.
Yes, there was a ship that was stuck or something to that effect.
Exactly right. There were 20,000 containers on that ship, stuck for 3 weeks. The containers were expected to be somewhere else. The goods were supposed to be somewhere else. And the whole of the world's supply chain was affected as a result of that particular incident. Not helped as well by the war that's taking place in Russia and the situation in Ukraine, which was a major producer of palm oil and wheat, for example.
Sorry, can you just continue right after this break, please? We need to take a break. Listeners, if you're just tuning in, our guest is Dr. Graham Bright. He's the Global Head of Compliance and Operations at Euro Exim Bank. He's speaking with us now from St. Lucia. One moment, please.
Thank you. You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
3:45. The Caribbean Maritime University, an ISO certified institution, offers Bachelor of Science degrees in cruise shipping, Bachelor of Engineering degrees, logistics, marine tourism, port management, security administration and management, and more. For further information, call 876-924-8150, 876-924-8175, or email info@cmu.edu.jm.
Importers, the Jamaica Customs Agency is reforming its clearance process, making it easier for you to clear your non-commercial and small value items using our simplified declarations. You will be able to clear your goods without physically visiting the port or a warehouse for customs inspection, making your clearance experience even better. The pilot begins October 2022 across all marine public bonded warehouses. For further details, email Jamaica Customs at contactlessclearance@jca.gov.jm or telephone 876-922-5140 to 8. We're here to serve you. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
Get the most accurate news, sports, commentary, business, and more every Sunday from the best. The Sunday Gleaner. Discover a new job, home, or upgrade to a new car. Get the latest in entertainment, health, finance, and so much more. Purchase your copy this Sunday. The Sunday Gleaner gives you everything you need and more. The Gleaner, where life unfolds.
Farmers, come for a candid conversation with the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, the Honorable Pernell Charles Jr. Learn more about the agricultural sector and the role we all play with its development. That's a Morning with the Minister, every second and fourth Friday of every month during Farm Talk with Alfie McKenzie, right here on Power 106 FM.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides 6 FM. Still streaming live on the Gleaners website, jamaica.com, live on the Power 106 FM app, and so many other places. You're able to connect with us from wherever in the world you are. We appreciate your listenership and support. We thank you very much for joining us. We've been speaking with Dr. Graham Bright of the Euro Exim Bank as we explore opportunities intrinsic here in the region and how all stakeholders can work together in the name of facilitating trade and doing so successfully. We should let you know as well, and we should say thanks to Mr. Da Silva, who has been very gracious, Francis Da Silva, in his role behind the scenes as well, facilitating. We are grateful, and also Ambassador Earl Hemans, who is very much keen to learn more of what the Euro Exim Bank has to offer and the implications for the region and elsewhere. Dr. Bright, you were setting the stage before the break in terms of you were going on now to reference the hostilities between Ukraine and Russia and just highlighting the implications of these matters on trade, global trade.
Yes,
So you could just pick up the point from there, please.
Certainly, these are very, very challenging times, and it's not just those countries which feel the effect of the hostilities, but it's spread across the world, where many countries are dependent on the goods and services coming from those countries, especially electronics from Ukraine. And they say there's some agricultural produce which needs to be moved across the world, embargoed, blockaded at the moment. Very, very difficult situation. So it's not one country around the world is having problems. All countries seem to be in a very much state of political or geopolitical flux. And that is with their own challenges, low liquidity, the price of the dollar, the strength of the dollar, which is really affecting international trade. And it's also affecting Japan for almost the first time in the last 20 to 30 years as well. Obviously, we have some political issues in the United Kingdom. But with trade generally, there are still issues very much around every country has its own regulations, and regulations are increasing every single day. There are something like 400 to 500 new regulations put in place across the globe every day. Now, that does affect the way trade does work. We have to be very clear in making sure that our internal processes, and why the bank is so strong as well, is ensuring that we have the right process to look at AML, anti-money laundering, due diligence, compliance, know your customer, know your company, understand how the flow works for international trade. So we can track the whole life cycle because so many different players are involved in the process. You have a buyer, a seller, a buyer's bank, a seller's bank, an insurer, a customs office, a shipper, and various other inspectors who are involved in the whole process. And that means there's a colossal flow of paper going around the world every day, estimated to be 28 billion documents moving around the world. Now that means paper moving, discrepancies, problems, you're not getting the right documents in the right place at the right time, and ownership of goods is also a problem from that point of view. So we're waiting for signatures on documents, but there has to be a better way. So what the International Chamber of Commerce are doing, and what governments around the world are doing, is now subscribing to a new way of using electronic documents instead. That's digitizing the paper, removing the old paper, and allowing electronic documents to move around where we can transfer title and ownership. And when that happens, you get a much freer system, a much better way of moving these documents around, faster process, cheaper process, which helps not only the buyer in that position, but it helps the seller and everybody in the ecosystem of trade. But that does mean that banks as well need to change their internal processes. From digitizing paper, we need to digitalize the processes inside as well to make sure that one system can pass information correctly to another, with complex workflow systems becoming easier as well. And that's where blockchain comes into it, to make sure that the documents are locked in a block, moved across that block, unchanged, with value. So we can actually move value on from there. Euro-Exim Bank are a small bank. Mm-hmm. And what we've done is already created the platform to enable this to take place.
Oh, because I was about to find out, based on my reading of the situation, whether you were in the process of building the trade bank of the future, or you are already there, or you're planning to get there.
Well, we are already there, and we're also looking at other things like the use of cryptocurrency. Now, we're not using things like Bitcoin, which have to go through heavy fluctuation, but we're looking in 2023 to introduce an Exim coin for trade, which is pegged to the dollar, so that certain
pegged to the US dollar.
US dollar. Uh-huh. And the reason for that is that people will not have to physically move into the US dollar, but can use the Exim coin so they can effectively change from a non-exchange currency. Let me give you an example. So we have a buyer in Nigeria buying goods from Bahrain. We could have the Bahrain dinar, or the currency of there, moved into Exim coin and effectively switched out into Nigerian naira without having to move into the fiat currency of dollars. Now that means that we don't have fluctuation in dollars. We don't necessarily have to get liquidity in dollars, but we have a set source able to very easily move currency for payment between one player and another player. And if we do that in the trade space, that means that smaller companies are not disadvantaged by having to continually go to a local bank which has no liquidity or low liquidity, restricted cash flow, and no access to dollars at the right price. Because we've heard of phenomenal rates at the moment for dollar, which are in the region of 20-25%. That's how much additional it will cost you to do particular trades, because your currency is not effectively pegged at the moment. So there's a lot of things happening around the international perspective. Our systems are ready, blockchain is ready. We're using AI to automate the process of looking at non-standard documents. Very difficult in that situation, so that's improving all the time. We're very much still involved with looking at the regulations, which are changing so dramatically, but we're right there at the forefront of international trade to make sure that the smaller clients are not disadvantaged and have the opportunity to compete in the world's markets.
Speaking of smaller clients, as you're aware, I'm right here in the biggest little country in the world, Jamaica.
Well, I'm in another little country here in St. Lucia as well.
So, what is your outlook as you survey the region? How familiar are you with the types of trade and the nuances from island to island?
Certainly. Well, what we've done here is, so we're a regulated bank in our particular region here. We take a look at every region we deal with. We are not, from our banking license, we don't do trading within St. Lucia itself, but we can assist any other institution across the Caribbean to look at a way to not restrict their cash flow, to find a very easy way to do import and export, because one of the issues we are seeing is these tremendous trade gaps which are evolving within the Caribbean region. Almost every country has a 1 to 5 relationship of import versus export. Now that's a huge amount.
Yes.
So if you're only at 20%, if your value of exports is only 20% of the value of your imports, how are our countries going to be as economically efficient as possible? So many of those countries, we need to find a better way to allow importers, or rather allow their goods to be exported much better, because you cannot at these times just depend on tourism. There are other things which can be potentially looked at, but you need the infrastructure without the bureaucracy, without the complexity of trade, without the different influences there to make it easy to do that. Free trade agreements are one way to do it, not reducing the price of your goods, but getting into conversations with other countries to accept goods without tariffs and duties. So that's certainly one way forward. But the other way for us is that we offer our particular instruments without having to lock your cash flow for a long time. And that's where a lot of the buyers really get caught, and it just makes it uneconomic to do international trade. Mm-hmm. So we're really helping the smaller buyers around the world in order to get an instrument which is deliverable, fast, and it's secure.
Right. And what can you tell us with respect to, I mean, we've heard of the regulations and how quickly those change. I mean, how can you be sure about the direction in which you're going if the signposts and the directional apparatus continues to change? How do you manage that?
We manage it carefully. There is an old expression that says, "How do you eat an elephant?" And the answer is very slowly, piece by piece. So what we need to do, what we do in a purposeful way, is look at every single trade, every deal which is presented to us. We have to look very carefully who's the buyer, the seller, the goods, whether there's a sanction, whether there are politically exposed people, whether there is a potential corruption or collusion. We need to make sure of all of these things before we accept the trade at the beginning. And that means we...
Hello? Break in the connection there. Dr. Graham Bright is our guest at this time. He's the Global Head of Compliance and Operations at the Euro Exim Bank. He's speaking with us from St. Lucia. And as we said, there's a break in the connection. Not sure what is causing that. But we also want to, let's go to the break and come back.
At Wellington Dental, they offer cleaning, filling, whitening, and other services for the entire family. The time by Wellington Dental is 4 o'clock. Tune in every Thursday at 3:30 p.m. for Your Legal Corner with David Walker Huntington, during both sides of the story with Dervan Malcolm on Power 106 FM. It's your source of information regarding U.S. immigration matters, combined with Power 106 FM's pioneer of diaspora broadcasting. Call in with your U.S. immigration queries and concerns on 876-922-41125
or send a text or WhatsApp message to 876-279-8598 and get the answers you need for your U.S. immigration questions. That's Your Legal Corner with Dana Walker Huntington, Thursdays at 3:30 p.m. during Both Sides of the Story with Dervan Malcolm, only on Power 106 FM.
Hello?
Hi,
Yeah, the,
Mr. De Silva. Is let me see,
yes.
is Dr. Bright on as well?
Well,
I'm not hearing him.
I was on the, I was connected on the other call and I just sent him a message. I'm waiting for him to reply.
Oh, all right, let me
So
see.
I've informed him that you have taken a commercial break. He says yes, no idea why he replied. No idea why he got disconnected.
Oh dear, how do we do this then? You're already. Hold on.
I'll ask him to call back.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Call back on the same number that you gave earlier.
Yes, please.
Okay, I've asked him to call back.
Okay.
But I have got disconnected from the other call, because you called. I took it.
Oh, so you're on this one right now. I was just trying to see how I can just add Dr. Bright without losing your link, your connection. But the system is not allowing me to add.
I have you.
Hello?
Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, Dr. Bright, that's you?
Bill. Hi, back again.
Okay, good. And Mr. Da Silva is still there, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, wonderful. All right, just a moment, please. Sorry, go ahead. Hold on, please. Hold on. ¿Qué hora es en español? Son las 4:03. Quelle heure est-il en français? Les 4:03. 现在几点了？4:03. 3 minutes past 4 o'clock in the afternoon here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Have you had a checkup lately? If not, now is a good time. Let's not wait till we get sick to get a checkup. How about that? Checking in with more on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. And we are delighted to be in the company of illustrious gentlemen. We have online the gentleman who has responsibility for on a global stage, on a global level, for the Euro Exim Bank in terms of operations. And we also, as we've been saying, we have Francis De Silva, who is in the wings. We have a couple of questions for him before we wrap. That's in a little while from now. But right now, we just wanted to continue the discussion, and as we learn more about the Euro Exim Bank and also the prospects for the Caribbean. So perhaps we could just say a little more in that regard. Dr. Bright, are you plugged in as far as the Caribbean is concerned, or are you still doing work on the ground? Do you have boots on the ground, in a manner of speaking?
We have many pairs of boots on the ground. We certainly, from the St. Lucia point of view, we have our MLRO here. We have directors based here. I am visiting at the moment from the United Kingdom, where I am based, and I'm speaking at the Caribbean Association of Banks. So this is by no means just a remote bank. It's not just a plate on a wall. This is real people with accountants, with legal people, with compliance people on the ground in St. Lucia. And we've found that this is a very effective, very strong regulatory environment that gives us the springboard to talk across the world with our many agents and partners. And we currently have over 7,000 agents and partners in other countries. It's 150 other countries. So we're able to spread the way, our methodology, our way of working across not only the Caribbean region, but in the wider sphere as well. And that's especially important where we're finding a new supply chain issue. We're looking for new raw materials. People can't depend on China to make goods anymore because of the cost of employing people there. The actual physical cost of production has gone up tremendously. We're also looking, for example, for cotton coming from Africa into Malaysia, being remanufactured and sent across the world. We're seeing 5,000 container ships, sometimes containing up to 20,000 containers a time, moving across our seaways. And that's moving all over the globe. And the issues we now have are the cost of those containers, sometimes containers going and being lost, and ships being lost as well. So we have to look at the insurance point of view, where ships are traveling, what the manifest looks like, where the insurance is actually in place. It always has to be in place, but to ensure that the right goods are going to the right people at the right time, that they're not sanctioned as well. And our role very much, again, is working with the small SMEs and the corporates, not the big infrastructure projects. We don't work with the ports, airports, and rail projects or road building. What we're looking at is helping the smaller SMEs, the people truly driving the economies, who are going to be reliant on goods which are coming from abroad. And global trade has actually almost reached again the period and the level it was before COVID. So that's how quickly things have recovered. And the economists were telling us we would be depressed for years, and yet that level of trade is in the trillions of dollars now, almost back to where it was to the pre-COVID era. So that means, again, logistically, how do we move those goods to the best benefit of the smaller islands to make sure that the goods are there at the right price, that people aren't being hit with inflationary artificial pricing. So it's really important that we are there to ensure that there's no over-invoicing, no under-invoicing. Things look correct according to the regulations for each jurisdiction in which we're creating our instruments.
And from where you sit, Dr. Bright,
Yep.
as Global Head of Compliance and Operations at Euro Exim Bank, who should be talking to Euro Exim Bank at this time? Who should be messaging Euro Exim Bank at this time, especially within our region here in the Caribbean?
I would say that the smaller companies, who are looking at trades from $100,000 up to $5 million, where sometimes a local bank is not prepared to assist them with that particular transaction. Certainly other banks as well, who perhaps have a more domestic view, who want to try and support international trade. Also for any other types of businesses relying on trying to import from abroad as well. If they're finding the cost of those imports is very, very high, or the cost for their instrument is high from another bank, perhaps we can work with that bank to ensure that we get the best price and the best efficiency for those instruments. So again, it's not the big infrastructures we're talking to, it's the small guys, it's the SMEs, it's the corporates of a smaller level who have problems with liquidity, the FX, bureaucracy, with the geopolitical influences. Everybody that's doing international trade, we have a potential solution for.
What are the communications channels open to those who would love to learn more? They want to find out more about the Euro Exim Bank and the offerings of the institution.
We on our website directly, so that's www.euroeximbank.com. So that's the first channel. We have a lot of information on that channel. Also, if you go onto YouTube and you request Euro Exim Bank Graham Bright, then you'll see videos which explain the process of international trade, explain what we do as a bank overall, and some of the thought leadership that we have as well. Because at the moment, we are also winners of international awards. We're from International Finance, Mirror, Silicon. We've got on Bloomberg, Reuters, Forbes. we've been featured in magazines as thought leaders as well, because it's very important when you're dealing with a financial institution, not just to get an instrument, but to have that feeling that you're dealing with professionals in the whole of the process. And that's really borne out by the many awards we've got, the many articles we've got in the international press as well. So www.euroeximbank.com, and we also have agents and partners across the islands in the Caribbean as well, 10 in Barbados, 9 in Jamaica, 4 additional people in St. Lucia. So they are positioned all over the world, and it's possible to look on our website to see who those people are as well, to interact with them directly.
Well, we want to thank you so much for uh, providing information on opportunities that abound, but we just need to make sure that there's a greater level of awareness so people know what is happening and therefore can make informed decisions. Just hang on a second. Let's just bring in, as we get ready to wrap, let's just bring in Francis De Silva, trade finance specialist at Euro Exim Bank based in Bahrain. Francis De Silva, good afternoon. How are you?
Very good afternoon to you, Dervan. I'm fine, thank you, and thank you for having Dr. Graham and myself here.
Well, it's a pleasure. How has it been for you in terms of your role in facilitating and bridging gaps where necessary to enhance trade globally?
I'm an ex-investment banker. I'm in Bahrain for 24 years, and having worked with Citibank and Shannon Chartered Bank, it was a very easy transition for me to be empaneled with your Exim Bank, and not only within the region but globally. I'm working very closely with SMEs, as Dr. Graham mentioned. That's where our core client base is, to offer the products and services of your Exim Bank.
Mm-hmm. And what are you picking up from the market? I mean, and especially in your line of business, is are the fears and the concerns about hostilities between Ukraine and Russia and the inflation and geopolitics, etc. Are those are those what do you call now clear and present dangers that might cause some doubts, or are the stakeholders pressing ahead?
Well, the Russia-Ukraine crisis is a unique one, but there have been events globally which have been challenges to have a regular trade, but trade goes on and trade never stops. These challenges have to be mitigated from time to time, and Euro Exim Bank, as Dr. Graham also mentioned, we are equipped to help corporates, importers, exporters, to make sure that trade goes on. Having said that, we are a bank which works very closely with the SMEs, wherein they are the ones who need the growing banks like Euro Exim Bank to help them with their trade instruments.
Yes. And we're happy to know as well that our own Jamaican brother, Ambassador Earl Hemans, is also on board. So it's a good support to have as you seek to broaden your horizon.
Yes, absolutely. Ambassador Earl Hemans, as you know, has been a diplomat representing Jamaica
Sorry,
in
I'll allow you
China.
to say a little more. One moment, please, and we hope we're not trespassing now on your time in such a way that we didn't plan to. But hold a moment, please. Let's take the break and come back.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now 4:15. This is Fine Stop. How may I help? You want them birds of illegal gun, but we know what them know say I be car. Don't worry, sir. Crime Stop is privately funded and run by the PSOJ.
Everything reported here is anonymous. It's just to let you're invisible. Reward. We provide cash rewards for information that leads to an arrest or recovery. We'll stash the cash wherever you like, so nobody will ever find out. All right, let me tell you. Make the call. Crime Stop 311. Solving crime pays.
Que ahora es en español. Son las 4:16. Quelle heure est-il en français? Les 4:16. 现在，10点了，10点10了分. 16 minutes past 4 o'clock in the afternoon here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Good afternoon to all the schoolers listening to us, all the students from the early childhood level to the secondary level. Trust you had a productive day at school today. Have you done your homework yet? If not, now is a good time. And we trust you not only had a good time in terms of learning, but you also had a good time in terms of physical activity, which is just as important as mental activity. As we always say, young people, socialization makes you educable, education makes you trainable, training makes you employable, and the right attitude makes you successful. Homework time, young people. Well, we have a couple of gentlemen on who have long done their homework, and that's why they're joining us, because they have indeed done their homework, and we're happy to have them on board. We're talking trade, international trade, and how we can uh, take advantage of existing opportunities like those being offered by the Euro Exim Bank uh, to achieve whatever trade goals we have. And as you heard from Dr. Graham Bright, they're really looking out for the smaller traders, those who really need the support, as opposed to those who can afford otherwise. And so that is another key selling point in terms of the support of the Euro Exim Bank. And we were just about to hear from Francis da Silva and get an idea of the synergies that are being forged. So, for example, you were referencing Ambassador Hemans, Mr. da Silva.
Yes, I'm grateful to Ambassador Earl Hemans, who has been a diplomat representing Jamaica in China, and thereafter he started his own business where his company is Genestic Alpha Harmonic International Trade Financing and Distribution Company in Myanmar. I work very closely with him to promote Euro Exim Bank, not only in Jamaica or St. Lucia, but in the Caribbean region as well. And also in Asia, we are working on a few deals which we would like to bring forth for some ease of trade between the importers and the exporters, and that's where our role comes in over here.
Yes, indeed. And we have many more questions, but as we said, we feel as if we're monopolizing your time. I'm sure you have other matters to take care of, and you perhaps didn't plan to be with us for this long. But before we wrap, we want to give you an opportunity to emphasize through repetition, which they say is the greatest form of pedagogy, or if you want to otherwise reinforce particular points that have already been made, so that those just joining can get the gist of what's happening here, and also so that we leave a lasting impression in the minds of those who are in the business of trade, and especially the smaller traders, as we've been saying. So, who wants to go first?
Dr. Graham, can you please go ahead?
Absolutely. So reinforcing points for you, first of all.
Yes.
We know that across the Caribbean, we have a very young population, a very eager population, an educated source as well. We at EuroExim Bank will always support those types of people who want to look forward to work with us as well. We have to join us as agents and partners to be trained to perhaps look at a longer term career in banking. We are across the world taking on people to work with our sales teams who have excellent experience in the banking field as well. Those coming who are slightly older coming out and thinking, is there life after banking? Well, there is, because we are not a retail bank. There's so many different parts of banking that we embrace, whether it's regulatory, whether it's compliance, whether it's sales, whether it's financial, whether it's accounting, whether it's legal. All of those areas are absolutely key to banking. And we are taking and looking at people who can contribute as well, not just take from us, but make a positive step and contribute to how we work. I'm a member of the cross-party political group in the United Kingdom in the House of Lords, and I have the opportunity to work with the regulators and the lawmakers. And having that link to that type of organisation
priceless.
Is hugely impressive there. It's priceless. But I'm also a member of the ICC, the International Chamber of Commerce, which provides the standardization for trade process to make things better. And that's why we're looking at this new law to look at the way in which we can transfer title and ownership. Overall, I think we're still, we've only been running for 5 years. I started in the bank where there were 3 people. We now have over 7,000 people. We are still the fastest growing trade finance institution on the planet. And that's a very proud boast for us.
Very, very impressive, Dr. Bright. Thank you so much for all that you've been able to share with us thus far. We trust that those who have ears to hear have, in fact, been listening and making notes and paying particular attention to the contact details. Well, we thank you very much. We could talk to you all afternoon. It's quite a pleasure, but we have to wrap. Thank you. And we want to wish you and the team at Euro Exim Bank all the success that life has to offer. And we are ready and prepared to provide a platform, our platform here during both sides of the story on Power 106 FM, to get the word out there, keep it out there, and creating a greater level of awareness so that we can help to bridge whatever gaps there are in facilitation of with the goal of facilitating trade in as seamless a manner as possible.
We all welcome that view, and we would drink to it as well.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having us. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much as well, Francis De Silva. Thank you for the work that you continue to do. And of course, Francis Silva, listeners, is a trade finance specialist at Euro Exim Bank. He's based in Bahrain. And you also have been listening to Dr. Graham Bright, Global Head of Compliance and Operations at Euro Exim Bank. His enthusiasm is quite infectious. Thank you very much, Dr. Bright. And again, thank you, Francis De Silva. Thank you both very much for adding value to this afternoon's edition of Both Sides of the Story here on Power 106 FM. We'll definitely keep in touch.
Thank you. Thank you. And also thank you, Ambassador Humans. Thank you so much.
We join you in conveying those words of gratitude. Thank you, gentlemen. All the best. Take care.
And to you. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Right. So, listeners, there you go. We've been going for some time now, haven't we? But it's worth it. After all that's happening in the world, we have to try and play our part, if even a small part, however we are able to create a greater level of awareness and help to direct attention to particular institutions, organizations, and situations. Great. Thank you very much for that. Let's continue with more on your program, Both Sides of the Story. Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com, live on your smart devices all over the world. taking your calls on 876-922-4112 if you heard anything that you would like to add to or to question or to find out more about, feel free. The lines are open 876-922-4112. The text line same as the WhatsApp number, which means you can not only send us your text messages, your WhatsApp messages, your voice notes, but you can call us on WhatsApp as well. That number is 876 365 3346. 876 365 3346. We're still live on YouTube via the Dervan Malcolm YouTube channel and live on Facebook via Facebook Live. And we continue to take your feedback. The text line, same as the WhatsApp number, as we've been telling you, 876 365 3346. We're going to try to clear some of these messages, and we're seeing quite a lot. Not all, perhaps not all pertinent to the discussions right now, but 109 messages, no less. Plus, those are WhatsApp messages. Plus, there are text messages. We just saw about 11 of those. And let's see if we can clear some of these messages here on both sides of the story. Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com, live on your smart devices all over the world. Richie Innocent has sent us some information here having to do with, what is this now? Jamaican Poets Festival and School Tour 2022. Jamaican Poets Festival and School Tour 2022. It started on Tuesday, yesterday, with the official opening at the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. And today they're in Kingston. On Thursday, that's tomorrow, they'll be in Maypen and Mandeville. On Friday, in Santa Cruz and Malvern in St. Elizabeth. On Monday, the 31st, they'll be in Savannah Lamar, Westmoreland. On Tuesday, November 1st, Montego Bay, the Friendly City. Wednesday, November 2, Falmouth and Brownstown in Trelawney and St. Anne, respectively. November 3 and 4, back in Kingston. St. Mary, November 7. Portmore, November 8. Portland and St. Thomas in the East, November 9. Kingston, November 9 as well. Workshop and final night, and it's a long list. If you need more information, and I figured as much, but I only wanted to confirm it, not for the first time, by Malachi Smith. MalachiSmith.com. MALAHI Smith, MalachiSmith.com. If you're interested in what is dubbed the Nomadic Jamaican Poets Festival and School Tour 2022. The Nomadic Jamaican Poets Festival and School Tour 2022. Check it out. Thank you very much, Richie Innocent, for sharing the information with us. We did hear about it. Blessed love, he says, teacher, please bless up Malachi Smith and all the poets who are on the Jamaican Poets School Tour and the students who will be participating at the schools. Thanks to the principals and teachers who know the importance of the arts or of the art form. Kudos to the sponsors. I am in class zooming in from the Big Apple. That's New York, of course. He says, Dervan, I remember you telling us the importance of knowing the proper pronunciation of a person's name and that you would call the embassy before doing so. Yes, indeed, Richie Innocent. Nice to hear from you. All the best. Take care.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
4:13. The Caribbean Maritime University and ISO
Still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. Good afternoon to Faye Weller. Thanks for tuning in. Velta Wilson in St. Thomas. Good to have you on. Violet White. Good afternoon to you. Thank you very much. And when you're not hearing us, Violet White and others, it means we have muted the microphone for one reason or another. Olga Hollingshead says, thank you for sharing. Thank you for joining us. Paul in Philadelphia says, good day, Dervan and all listeners. To you too, Paul. Ricardo in Glengoff, St. Catherine, shouting out everyone as usual. And Paul in Philadelphia says, Dervan, checking in from cool, Michigan. Hello to you, Paul. I thought you were in Philadelphia. You're in Michigan. Well, so be it. Enjoy Michigan. And all the very best to not just you, but all the other Jamaicans and friends of Jamaica in Michigan who's tuned in to both sides of the story here on Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. On this day in 2008, band leader Byron Lee was conferred with the Order of Jamaica during a special ceremony at the Tony Thwaites wing of the University Hospital of the West Indies. In 2007, for those of you who listen to this program, you would hear us featuring the David Wagahunt Scholarship Foundation, which is a combination of KC and Calabar Old Boys, raising funds based in Washington, D.C., but also with operations here in Jamaica, raising funds to provide scholarships, an equal number of scholarships for students at both Kingston College and Calabar High School. Well, here's a reminder of how this came about, because on this day in 2007, unfortunately, former National Under-17 and Calabar High School Manning Cup coach David Hunt was pronounced dead at the University Hospital of the West Indies after collapsing at his home in Havendale, St. Andrew, just hours before his team, Calabar, were scheduled to play Edith Dalton James in a crucial fixture. The coach was discovered unconscious on the bathroom floor of his residence by the team's manager. And arising out of this tragedy, family members, friends, colleagues got together and said, we need to honor the memory of and work of David Wagahunt. And that gave birth to the David Wagahunt Scholarship Foundation. To the phone lines once again, 876-922-4112-5. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dervan Malcolm.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Malcolm, how many languages you speak?
I have a degree in French. I did a reading course in Spanish. I've done a fair amount of Mandarin, Chinese. I've had to learn some Dutch to MC the wedding of a Dutchman and a Jamaican woman. And I'm still learning. I love languages, so every now and then I fool around with other languages.
Dervan, in order to enhance our productivity as a people, we'll have to learn to communicate better.
True.
Yeah, especially on the phone.
True.
Because when you listen to the Chinese king, King Xi Jinping, was changed the constitution for him to govern for life. He's telling the Chinese people some profound thing, you know. Listen to one of the things that he said. He's telling the Chinese, the older you get, the richer you're supposed to get, wherever you live in the world.
Oh, really?
Yes, he told them that, I believe, last week, Sunday night, when he was addressing.
They what you would call their parliament of sorts? Or, yeah. Right.
And once every 5 years, they have that thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you look how he talked to Mr. Biden, President of America, he's telling Joe Biden that Chinese is for China and Taiwanese is Chinese people, so he must come out of Chinese business.
Sounds like we are regressing. We're going back.
Thank you, Dervan.
Oh dear.
And when you look at what is going on with the BRICS, the Britain, not Britain, Brazil, Russia,
India.
India, China,
Mm-hmm.
South Africa, Iran, and Saudi Arabia want to join the BRICS. If that United States dollar, the petrodollar, is being killed, it's a serious tragedy for economy like Jamaica and Dervan, wouldn't you say so?
Well, you know how it is. Just all it takes is a sneeze, and we have the flu here.
And then our country is so positioned now that when you look, all the big guns are out in Europe, heading towards Ukraine. All the big guns are out in China and Russia. Everybody fighting for land and the minerals of the land
Yes.
and the sky. What are we doing as a people in Jamaica with our land? We're going to make it sit idle for generations to come and then we allow the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer.
Yeah, that's a pertinent question, and it's really sad because we've been here for such a long time. So many successive governments have had opportunities to transform our land management policy and ensuring that we are not being elitist in how land is divided and sold or otherwise made available to the population. We have been skirting it. We've been doing piecemeal work. We do a little something here and another ribbon cutting there and so on, but the problem is not dealt with. The fundamental problem isn't dealt with, and so we're your question is most appropriate, most apt.
Listen to one of the things that the king says to the Chinese people last week Sunday.
Mm.
He's telling them based on the, every with this word, Dervan, demography,
Yes.
based on the demography of China, 18% of the population going to be too old to compete by 2050.
Yes.
So the Chinese one baby policy that they have.
They're at 3 now, aren't they?
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Malcolm.
Yes.
They want them each household to have 3 children, not one anymore.
Mm-mm.
To replace what he's planning, right?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. Who's going to have the babies to replace the Jamaicans who die every year?
Mm-hmm.
Where are they going to born? They're going to born in Rima, or in Jungle, or in Waterhouse, or in Tivoli Gardens. And where are they going to live?
Yeah.
What salary their baby mother is going to get to bring these children so that we can compete with the Chinese? Because they're coming from our land, you know.
Yep.
I said this before we come over the phone, Mr. Malcolm. You have a link with the diaspora of Jamaica. Hello?
I'm listening.
You have a good link with the diaspora. You are so creative that you build your program around the diaspora. When slavery was abolished, right? There was 350,000 registered slaves in Jamaica.
That's correct.
And what the black people did, they go out and they multiply.
Mm-hmm.
And about how much people you think we as Jamaicans have in the world now, Mr. Malcolm?
I would imagine somewhere close to 6 million.
All right, so we go out and we produce without any repatriation money. Then run off of them land, and we take bush, and we go out one baby and do a little thing. And when you check the tourist money that they're bragging on now, the remittances from these Jamaicans abroad is more than the tourist trade, you know?
Yeah, it's closer to 3 billion US.
So we as African people, we have done our part under trying circumstances. Wouldn't you say that, sir?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And when you look at the housing trust, that was a brainchild of a former Prime Minister, Michael Mann, who them never liked how much gunshot fire for him to come out of power. The NHT, the money that the government currently is taking out of the NHT, that's 11.5 billion for the last 6 years. Why is it that they didn't give the NHT land for it so that the NHT beneficiaries could have access to those lands, sir?
That's another good question. Could it be that they have other ideas or had other ideas and didn't look in that direction?
But those ideas that they have. I used to take a lot of time and build police station. You see the manifestation of Jamaican getting better.
Unfortunately, no, not the way we would like to see it get better.
Mr. Malcolm, I'm going to leave you with this. I'm 58 years old, you see?
You're still pretty young, man.
Yeah, and when I work out my mathematics as a resident in Portmore, I can't live in Portmore. Beyond 70 years old, I won't be able to afford the city. So therefore, I might have to go back to a place named Jungle to retire in my father's house.
But how would you?
Anything wrong with that for me moving from Portmore and retiring on his garden in the next 20 years, sir?
If that is your heart's desire, but I'm just thinking who would be, who you're saying because the cost of living would get so high in Portmore that you wouldn't be able to continue living there?
Yes, sir, I couldn't afford it. And not only that, one of my key savings that I have 2.8 million at the National Insurance Scheme, the NIS. I have been paying NIS from 18-year-old working with the government at the
and all you have is 2 million? Oh dear.
2.8 million.
I know the contribution is small anyway. What is it these days? It was at $50 at one stage.
Well,
per...
you pay, when you pay you pay.
Oh, that one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And you know that within the next 15 years, based on the report from the auditors and the actuaries,
Yes.
the NIS money might disappear because we don't have enough contributors to the fund.
Right. I've been hearing that for years, actually.
So all the Ministry of Labor sitting down there, even in the Chinese scheme, telling the Chinese to make sure they get richer while they get older. And when you go downtown and you work at a Chinese wholesale, you don't get a pay slip with them at this deduction because they're not paying over none. And so much transport operators in the system not paying in NIS. What's going to happen in 2050 when all of these construction worker, wholesale worker, and taxmen get old? Where their pension going to come from?
Whoever make up the population at that time, the working population.
Then that's what I ask you. Who's going to have the babies and where they're going to live so that this Ponzi scheme can continue, Mr. Malcolm?
We will see what we shall see at this stage.
It seems to me that the government is building an economic Frankenstein. I don't hear anybody talking about these calamities because the Chinese...
Hold on a moment, please. We need to take another break.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
4:45.
For 50 years, Under the Law has been helping you to know your rights and how the laws of Jamaica can help you defend those rights. And we continue to do this in 2022. The program is brought to you on Wednesdays by the Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy. Under the Law, 6:45 and 8:55 a.m. and at 4 and 9:55 p.m. on Power 106 FM.
I think perhaps we needed Vision 2030 to work. And perhaps the fact that from all indications, targets are being missed and will be missed. It takes away from some of that hopeful energy that we're moving towards a better place. The question now is, with the indications that not all those targets will be met, how do you re-energize people? What do you say now? Do you shift that to Vision 2050 or Vision 2060?
All right, yeah, you do that. Yeah, two things never leave with you. Come off of the year now. Mr. Malcolm, you
Yes.
see the report?
Yes.
You need that report before the system go further digitalized.
I'm amazed. I'm still marveling at what happened as the lead up to that commission being set up, chaired by Charles Ross. Well, of course, because and the but this is the thing. Neither party is pushing for the FinSAC report. it's almost as if we have allowed it to die a natural death.
And then you're going to bring in next year, and you're going to take time and digitalize the economy to hold people in the banking system, and we don't know if the banks then stable. Because they don't even with it. The same people who want the land today, they're going to want the water commission tomorrow, because the world going into a water crisis. And in order to finance that, they're going to want the money to, by creating a cashless society.
Well, this is why this is supposed to be a democracy. So it means that those of us who occupy certain positions, whether as citizens or as political representatives on whichever side, will have to look out for the best interest of the people and get the buy-in from the people. Other than that, it's just going to meander and maybe peter out, and who knows what will be left.
I'm glad you said that. And you see a man like you, Dervan, welcome, you will a mighty crowd. You feel like how you speak so much language, and you can interpret when the interpreter talk to them in almost any language. You, with that microphone and the photo statements, the media, have to prevent these people from tricking the Jamaican people back into slavery.
Well, I always like to say, yeah, I always like to say nobody can trick you without your permission.
Have a good afternoon, Mr. Malcolm. Your food basket never empty.
Thank you very much, and you likewise. This is your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM, 876-922-4112 to 5. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
It's a good afternoon to you. So may your food basket never empty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Isaac, is it? Mr.
No, sir.
What's the name again?
Peter Xavier Williams.
Peter Xavier Williams,
Yes,
right.
sir.
Mhm.
I just called to say that there is a bit of history here that Sir Alexander Bustamante was awarded the highest national honors by Sir Clifford Campbell on the first Heroes Day parade, which was held in Park Camp in 1972. And Sir, surprisingly, when I ran away from country in 1948, coming to Kingston or Kilsum, I know not what, I had all determination to meet Sir Alexander Bustamante at all costs, to which I did. And he adopted me to a point where he took me to Sister Mary Teresa and Sister Ignatius at Alpha Boys School, where I grew. I graduated from school, and he, Sir Alexander Bustamante, assisted me to join the army because I didn't know anywhere anything at all. So then, sir, what happened is that during the army, I was self-trained photographer, and I had to take that picture on that parade when he was so awarded. I was able, through the influences of the great geometrician God Almighty, to take such a picture that is so fitted for the Jamaica Defense Force Alert magazine, to which that picture was on the cover of that magazine, 1972. The only Prime Minister of Jamaica, or the only member of government, politician, whose picture is portrait is on such a magazine. So, sir, I just wish to inform you that that's a little bit of
history.
Of showing history.
Well, we thank you very much. We're always happy to hear more about our history.
Yes, sir. So until then, sir, I speak with you again. May the good Lord bless and keep you always.
And blessings to you too, Sergeant Peter David Williams.
Xavier
Xavier Williams, I beg your pardon.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Portrait was shown on Hilangoli Ride from, and it is still being shown from time to time.
Okay.
Yes,
good.
Sir, thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. All the best. Sir. Take care. This is your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com, live on your smart devices all over the world, taking your calls on 876-922-4112 to 5. We still have a few minutes before we wrap. 4 minutes. And so stand by. We still have a few minutes to take a call or two. 876-922-4112 to 5. 876-922-4112 to 5. Here's another piece of history. 2004. On this day in 2004, the Director of Elections, Danville Walker, warned that the Electoral Office of Jamaica, EOJ, would have nothing to do with the November 6th leadership race in the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP, unless all election guidelines are adhered to. In a letter to the JLP Secretariat, Mr. Walker said the EOJ would not be conducting the election unless the leadership contenders, Pernell Charles and Bruce Golding, signed off on an agreed delegates list. That was 2004. In 2002, the Gleaner reported that Alun Dombe Asamba is the only newcomer to the 17-member cabinet announced on October 25 by Prime Minister P.J. Patterson. Ms. Asamba joined 2 other women in the cabinet. Also on this day in 2002, as reported by the Gleaner, a wave of gun violence across the country in the previous couple of months, which had pushed the murder count to 230, among them 102 women and 14 children. This was 20 years ago. On this day in 2002, the Gleaner reported that there was a wave of gun violence across the country in the previous couple of months, pushing the murder count to 830. Among them, 102 women and 14 children. Oh no. Whoa. What a thing. Can we thank you once again for the privilege of serving you on yet another edition of your program, Both Sides of the Story, for today, Wednesday, the 26th of October, 2022. The moving finger writes, and having writ moves on, nor all your piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all your tears wash out a word of it. All things being well, Both Sides of the Story returns tomorrow afternoon, 2 to 5. Till then, this is Dervan Malcolm reminding all of us that every day is an opportunity to do better than yesterday. Take care as we close out this afternoon, continuing our tribute to the late, great Leonie Forbes. Time to say goodbye. A.J. Boots Brown. Se tu deseo, tu con me, io ni finestre, e sua tutte acquari mi hai acceso con me, me la luce che incontra tua strada. Time to say goodbye. I see no, there's no darkness thrown up to it, unless the sea no country Artiro. tsunami permani. Hey, osa. No, 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 existe no pure. Once you need you. On the sun, your soul, the sensitive, on the tense, parole. Con me, con me. Con me, con me, con me, con me. Time to say goodbye. I have been in the arms Tsunami permani, io non so, no, non esistono più. Con te io vivrò, con te partirò. Tsunami permani, io lo so, no, non esistono più. Con te io vivrò, con te partirò.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
5 o'clock.
News, comprehensive, powerful, and credible.
Power 106 FM now presents a simulcast of Radio Jamaica's News at 5.